What's up, builders? It's me, Jimbotron, back at you with another video. In today's video, we will be covering Royal Bullet's Junker Queen. Honestly, this build is insane. It's been featured in all of my top builds videos, and I actually somehow managed to receive comments from people saying that this build is a troll, so I want to show it to you. If you haven't noticed yet, this video is a little bit shorter than my usual videos. I usually make these roughly 10 to 15 minutes. However, I literally couldn't not mercy rule with this build, and I'm not joking. I played 5 games with it, and I think I mercy ruled on every single one of them. This is the game I'll be showing you. I didn't die a single time. As the name suggests, this build is based around the Royal Bullet's power. But to understand how strong it is, you first have to understand what a wound is. Now, if you don't play Junker Queen, basically every time you give someone a wound, this will happen from throwing your knife at them, hitting them with an axe, hitting them with your ultimate or even your quick melee. You will deal a small amount of damage over time. Whatever damage over time you deal, you will heal back 225% of that damage. There are set numbers for all of these, and they all scale with ability power. However, in the case of Royal Bullet's Junker Queen, this power gives her the ability to have a weapon power wound also, and most of these wounds are balanced by the fact that they are tied to a cooldown. Even the quick melee one is balanced because it actually is significantly weaker than all of the other wounds. The axe is doing the most at 40 wound damage total, but now Royal Bullets lets you do 40 wound damage for every headshot you hit, so you can have up to 5 of these active at a time on different enemy team members. If this translates to 90 damage healed over 2 seconds, or roughly 45 healing per second per person you manage to hit with a headshot, this will give you the single most possible healing on round 1 out of anyone in the game, and it's not even close. Because of this, you'll generate an absurd amount of cash, and you'll probably win because you won't really die. Then, up next, we take Twist the Knife. This power will make it so that whenever you crit someone, any wounds that were on them will be extended by 2 seconds. If you didn't know, wounds of different types stack, meaning if you hit an axe and a headshot, that'll do 2 wound stacks on them. Hitting a headshot will extend both of those stacks. This way, not only will Royal Bullets last for 4 seconds instead of 2 per headshot, but you can also have multiple healing stacks just constantly extended on the enemy tank. They won't be able to do anything about that. You were already aiming for critical damage anyway, so this really is just a buff with no drawback. And then, probably the most broken power that you can definitely consider for round 2 is this: Adrenaline Rush. This will make it so that any healing that you do to yourself, you'll also do to everyone around you. This is genuinely broken because it makes it so that if your team just sticks together and the opponents have no anti-heal, as long as you're in the fight, no one else will die. And now, as for your final power, there's quite a few options you can take here. So the first one is Bow Down. This is the popular choice. This will make it so whenever you hit someone with your ultimate, they'll be knocked down for 1.5 seconds. This is typically used on characters like Kiriko, or anyone that might not die to your ultimate and has an ability to make it useless. You could also take Reckoner's Roar, and even though this is less damage than Royal Bullets, it will still add a lot of burst healing onto your commanding shout, which, paired with Adrenaline Rush, will make your commanding shout feel like a support ult with how much healing you'll output. And last but not least, we have Soaring Stone. Now I personally love this thing, as this is cool tech that you can do with it. You can pair it with Jet Skates, which is already an amazing item on this build, and you can basically double jump for additional distance. You can then pair this with Ramp Bunny Hop if you like tech like that, and you can get 20 meters plus glides just for taking this item, so it's a huge mobility increase. Now, as for items, this build really only needs weapon power. I will tell you to take at least 2 survival items though. These can be 2 of preference or 2 of a specific matchup that you're in. Make sure that you always have 2 of them, and outside of that, you want to be buying hybrid items. So Jet Skates is the first one, and outside of the already mentioned jumping tech that gives you really strong mobility, Jet Skates is an all-around good item. Out of all of the gadgets, this is easily top 2, and it has probably the most compelling argument for being the best gadget. On top of that, because your main sources of healing are both weapon power and ability based, Getting stats from both of these will increase not only your damage, but your sustain. Up next is Phantasmic Flux, and this basically does the exact same thing as Jet Skates, stats-wise, minus the dash. Instead, we are going to be replacing the dash with 15% lifesteal on both stats. Now, technically this is not as valuable as the stats themselves because the wound damage is 225% lifesteal, technically. However, this is still kind of valuable, and the overhealth is nice. And last but not least, we have Super Flexor. For every individual tick of a wound that actually counts as an instance of damage, hitting a Royal Bullets headshot will instantly give you all 5 Super Flexor stacks, resulting in 25% AP with a lot of uptime. Putting these 3 items together will give you 30% weapon power and 45% ability power, not even mentioning the lifesteal, overhealth effects, dashing, and additional health. Now, to round it off with the scores, as always, we'll start with Impact. This build is an easy 10 out of 10. You're able to output more self-healing than supports can heal you, and when you get through the battle, this turns into you doing the most healing in the lobby. You also do absurd amounts of damage because of all the wounds. Your ult is an anti-heal, which means that you can counter enemy sustain. Realistically, having this build requires the whole of the enemy team to build around you. Up next, we have the early game. This is also a 10 out of 10. You have the most round 1 healing, and it's not even close. As for scaling, this is also a 10 out of 10. Because you are sustainably scaling with weapon power and ability power, you can get away with building absurd amounts of damage while still being tanky. And last but not least, fun. As for fun, absolute shocker. I'm going to give this one a 10 out of 10. This build you will rarely ever lose on, and it's super fun having all of the wounds stacking all at once and listening to the damage counters as they all go off. There are genuinely very few tank builds I would rather play over this one. Before we close off, I have an announcement to make. Me and my friends have come together to create a Discord server dedicated to the YouTube channel. There, you can get a full archive of all of my round-by-round build guides and participate in events that will be set up. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then I'll leave the link in the description. That is it for today, builders. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe.